And he says that the key stock, the linchpin, the kingpin, whatever, is NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's next week.
And you've argued to...
I don't want people to do make or break NVIDIA. NVIDIA's the best performing stock in the S&P, and there's always people who come in right here.
AI is helping their business internally at Meta in terms of allowing their customers to target in a way.
Well,
and forget the whole Apple iOS problem. That's long gone.
Right.
Now it's in the rearview mirror.
Well, look, they do it with a partnership, very close partnership with NVIDIA. And Mark Zuckerberg would tell you that, and NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, the CEO, would tell you that these are the guys who understand us. They really understand what we're up to. And I remember Jensen telling me he would not back Mark if he was combative.
This may be the top in the AI story. I suspect it is not. At least it appears to be in the last few months. It's looking slightly toppy. But long term, who doesn't believe that the AI story is going to change everything?
Speaking of tech, 1 week away from NVIDIA earnings, we were putting together the data that looked at how NVIDIA has reacted post-earnings, Bob. 5 out of the last 6 quarters, NVIDIA has gained about 10% the day after reporting earnings. So even this time around, with questions around a potential Blackwell delay, expectations are pretty high going into this report.
Right. So the question here is the echo gets a little smaller each time they do it. I would anticipate a very nice earnings beat of some kind. But remember, the last 2 years, NVIDIA's numbers went up so much. It was so shocking, that AI move that the play that they had, that the market really had to play catch up. And I think the market already is anticipating these kinds of beats. So I think you're going to get very important comments, but I don't think you're going to get the same sudden move to the upside that you had in, say, 2022 and 2023.
All right, stock at $129 a share.
Or you could say, you know what, the market's just gone up so quickly that it's logical that it needs a pullback. Yes, it does probably need a pullback. And yes, it's been driven by mega caps, and probably the most significant catalyst for those mega caps is going to be NVIDIA's earnings next week. So would I be surprised to see some sideways price action for the QQQ and the NASDAQ going into NVIDIA's earnings? No, but I don't want to bet against NVIDIA's earnings. I think the reality of this week, what's important internally in the market as it relates to Jackson Hole, is can we get the broadening out once again? Can small caps participate? Because they haven't really participated to the magnitude that the other equity size classes had in this recovery. I think that's critically important on Friday. I think small caps finally have to come to the party.
What is possible is that you could have, possibly, some guidance from NVIDIA, which is not as high as expected, some sense that the AI trade is slowing down. And if you have selling in those stocks and don't have selling in the rest of the market, but that's unlikely, you can keep this market going forward, even going sideways for the rest of the year. It's not a gimme that we go up another turn on multiple between now and the end of the year. I don't think the market really is going to be trading at 22 or 23 times next year's earnings by the end of September.
So the risk is specifically related to NVIDIA from my perspective. And that risk is coming within the next 10 days. If there's disappointment.
10 days, it's a week from today.
A week from today. But over the next 10 days, it'll play out.
I'm saying, like,
right. No, I understand.
Well, we got a lot. We got to get through Jackson Hole first. You got more data coming before you get to NVIDIA, but you still look at that as the line in the sand for this market?
For the biggest market risk, without question to me, is NVIDIA more than anything else. I think Jackson Hole, it's just more about can small caps and some of the missing equity size classes or sectors participate in the rally. For me, it's completely NVIDIA. But look, I think it's important for the viewers to understand there's been a valuable lesson that's been taught here in the last 30 days, and that's about the speed of the modern market, how fast the market moves. So you have to say to yourself, where's my view over the next 6 to 12 months? Do I think risk assets are going to be higher? Yes, I do. Okay, then you have to stay anchored to your allocations, because this market moves so quickly. You might want to time your way in and out of it, but I'll tell you what, if you moved out of the market in early August based on the price action that you saw, it is remarkably challenging to get back in once again, because the modern market today moves so fast, much faster than it did when I started in the business.
Well, we can't get to the next tech earnings season before we get out of this one, and we still have to consider NVIDIA a week from today. How do you see that?
I mean, it's huge, obviously. It's the most important stock in the world right now. So, if they laid an egg, it would be a major problem for the whole market. I don't think they will. I think they're going to surprise to the upside. If you look ahead at sort of what Wall Street is counting on a go-forward basis, it's almost like this explosion of AI revenue that they've seen over the last year and a half, is going to just sort of dry up. And I just don't think that's the case. Eric Schmidt gave a talk at Stanford recently. It was sort of leaked a few days ago, and they took it down off of YouTube because he made some critical comments about the work culture of Google. But embedded within that talk, one of his throwaway lines was, in talking to Sam Altman, they said that together they both believe that each of the hyperscalers, plus the OpenAIs of the world, we're probably going to have to spend something like $300 billion in NVIDIA chips over the next few years, each, $300 billion each. So, NVIDIA could basically only supply those hyperscalers, and their order book is going to be full for the next 4 years. It's a massive, staggering amount of money that's sitting in front of them. And, God love the Broadcoms and the AMDs of the world, but, the vast majority, like more than 95% of that revenue is going to go to NVIDIA.
Well, I mean, how do you just talked about, obviously the money that NVIDIA makes is the money that the hyperscalers are spending. So at what point do you look at what the hyperscalers are spending and say, you know what? It might be a little longer for the ROI or the return on invested capital side of the story than I think we're willing to admit. How should we look at that?
Well, I think that the Meta is showing now that they are making a lot of money from this, and that's why their stock is mid 500s right now. So they, I'm starting to think that Zuckerberg was sort of leading us on several years ago when he was saying that he was spending all this money on Reality Labs, and people panicked and sold the stock down to $80. I kind of think he was trying to throw off his competitors by just spending all this money on NVIDIA GPUs so he could get a head start of them. So he's showing the way. Now, if you're sitting in the seat of Andy Jassy, or Microsoft or OpenAI, are you going to let another one of these competitors just take the lead and become the dominant player in AI going forward? I just don't think you can do that. And you're only spending a minority in some cases, or just certainly less than your annual free cash flow that these companies are generating. So you're not going to spend that money just like leaving it on the balance sheet, and you're not going to spend it on M&A because Lina Khan's not going to have anything to do with that. So I think it was Eric Schmidt in that same talk that said a lot of these people look at the investment in AI as like what's the return on investment on intelligence? Like they see it as a lot of them infinite. I mean, there are going to be some shocking applications that are going to come out over these next few years. I've seen some already that just make the hair stand on the back of my neck, Scott. So I know everybody's impatient to see the applications, but they are here in some cases, and they will be coming shortly. We're still less than 2 years away from ChatGPT's debut.
All right, I hope that you're all doing well today and remaining calm in this market. So after a day of erratic price action, the S&P closed up about 0.4% while Nvidia finished the day up nearly 1%. Today was a choppy day in the market. This morning, the market began moving higher after the open, and then we got the jobs revision that I briefly mentioned in yesterday's video. The Bureau of Labor Statistics revised job numbers for the period of April 2023 through March 2024 down by 818,000 jobs. This is a major downward revision. You can see that the market initially traded lower on the news, but we remained relatively flat throughout the day as market participants waited for Fed minutes. We got those minutes today at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I would summarize today's Fed minutes as being overall benign and nothing really outside of expectations. Some important points from the minutes are that the vast majority of participants observed that if the data continued to come in about as expected, then it would likely be appropriate to ease policy at the next meeting in September. Additionally, several members actually thought it was plausible to cut rates by 25 basis points at the recent July FOMC meeting. The fact that some members were already willing to cut in July makes me think that a 50 basis point cut in September is now more likely than it was before. Additionally, the Fed said they see the labor market weakening, and now they are increasingly starting to focus on the maximum employment part of their dual mandate as inflation eases. So it looks like a rate cut in September is very likely, but at the same time, market participants are starting to feel uneasy about the cooling in the labor market and the potential for a recession. So put simply, market participants had mixed reactions to these Fed minutes, and the market traded flat for quite a while after the minutes were released today. And now we'll probably hear more of the same from Powell this Friday at Jackson Hole. As of now, a rate cut in September seems to be the most likely scenario. Now the question is, how much will the Fed cut at the September meeting, and how many rate cuts could we see later this year? That is what market participants will be listening in for this Friday as Powell is speaking. Now regarding NVIDIA, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, given the technical setup on NVIDIA's chart, I would not be surprised if NVIDIA trades lower, or at least remains relatively flat between now and earnings, but it really depends on what happens with the rest of the market. On the daily time frame, we are still sitting just below this resistance trend line that we've been battling with for a few days, and we also are seeing signs of slowing momentum show up on the histogram on the daily time frame. So that is not great in the short term, but I want to point out something very important here. Between now and earnings next Wednesday on August 28th, I'm going to put less emphasis on technical analysis of NVIDIA's chart, because at this point NVIDIA's price action really comes down to two things: what happens with the rest of the market, and whether or not we see NVIDIA investors take some risk off the table as we head into earnings. That's really all it comes down to at this point. And so I'm not going to put too much weight behind technical analysis of NVIDIA in the short term, because at this point anything could happen between now and earnings. While I don't know what will happen in the short term, I am bullish on the long-term future of NVIDIA as more hyperscalers like Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, and more all increase their capex spending on AI by billions of dollars. And sure, at some point growth may slow for NVIDIA, as this is a common trend whenever there is a new breakthrough technological advancement. For now though, the largest companies in the world are practically waiting at NVIDIA's doorstep for the latest release of their products, and many of those same companies are happy to get whatever they can from NVIDIA right now. If Blackwell is delayed, then that does not concern me regarding the long-term future of NVIDIA. If there is a delay in Blackwell, then NVIDIA can just sell more H100 GPUs in the interim, since demand is so strong right now, and they would likely just guide higher for future quarters in which they expect Blackwell to ship in volume. At least that's how I see it. With all of that being said, I hope you're all having a great day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.